Welcome. I'm Dr. Russ, and this is another one of our air rifle adventures. Glad you could join me. There's a lot of things to know about hunting, particularly in mountains. One of the things you find out is that there's no accurate weather report for mountains. Even the ranchers will laugh at you if you ask the question, what's the weather going to be like? They never know. You see, weather can do crazy things as it goes through the passes and mountains. And it can snow, it can rain, it can get blocked on one side of the mountain and never come over. So if you can ever have a hunt up in the mountains, you're going to want to make sure you bring a little bit of every kind of clothing, because there'll be days that there'll be snow flying in the fall, and days when it rains, and days when it's blistering hot. I've hunted in all of those situations. And one of the things you'll do is sit there once you find a good spot and overlook the trails and the patterns of deer moving from their sleeping areas, bedding areas, and into the food areas. You'll want a scope with maybe a 30mm lens on instead of the 1-inch. You'll want lighted optics in the scope, because they're going to help you in early morning and late in the evening, and that's where the big ones really do move. But one of the things that always happens to me in the mountains is you get up and you find a good spot and you have a pair of glasses and you start glassing those areas. And a lot of hunting is sit and wait, watch for movement. And that includes thinking about things that happen to you in your life and things that are important, that have made you who you are today. And that's something that's happened to me. One of the stories that I remember when I'm out hunting is a special school I went to called the Jungle Warfare School of the United States Army, down near Panama in the jungle, of course. And it doesn't exist anymore. Today, the Army's turned it over to the Secretary of State, same Army instructors down there. It's called the Assassination School. I don't know that they taught me how to do any assassinations, but they certainly taught me how to survive in the jungle. I remember we were outdoors in bleachers, and we were divided into groups of 4. 4 is usually what we call a LRP, a long-range reconnaissance patrol. And it was our job, after the class was over, I'm talking classes, a week. The second week was actually working our way through the jungle from point A to B, with very few openings for light to come down. And no GPSs back then, just a compass. And the ability to look out as far into the jungle as you could, pick a spot and walk to that, and then check your compass again and pick a spot out there. Also be aware of the terrain. How is it falling? Does that match the squiggly lines on the map? Are we really where we think we're supposed to be? Because there's some areas you can get into in Panama that you shouldn't be. And people have died in those areas. Anyway, the class was going on for the week, and they were saying, you probably won't remember everything said in the class, but let's give you a simple rule of survival. And that is, don't eat anything that doesn't pass the eye test. Does it look good? The nose test, the taste test, touch it. God gave us those senses for a reason. And make sure it passes all those before you go eating something that might be poisonous. Stuff we dig up under the earth, things that look like weird carrots or something. Things that we shot out of the trees. It was a live ammo exercise. And they said, and as we're sitting in the class, we're looking up in the trees, and these monkeys are going crazy. Sometimes they're making so much noise you couldn't even hear the instructor. And I'm thinking, well, if I get real hungry, I'll just shoot a monkey and we'll eat that. Towards the end of the class, he said, oh yeah, don't shoot any monkeys, don't eat any monkeys. And away we went. My first thought was, I think I can go a week without eating, because boiling bark off of trees for a tea doesn't sound real tasty to me. Those big bunny rabbits, jungle bunnies out there, they do. And we saw a couple, but none within a moment where we could actually get a shot on them. Finally, we got into a place in the jungle on the first night, and this idea of going all week without eating, that thought passed. We were starving. You can't hack through the jungle with a machete and not get hungry. And so I was the leader the first day. I told men which one to get a fire going, who's gathering firewood, who stretches the hammocks up, etc., etc. And I said to one man, go shoot a monkey. They're all over us, and we'll cook the monkey and eat it. Regardless of what they said, let's do that. So boom, one shot fired, the monkey falls out of the tree. He starts skinning it, we're all doing our job. Finally I said, okay, it's time to eat, guys, it's getting dark. And we moved back into the center. And here's my fellow patrol mate, and he's just sitting there staring at this monkey, which when peeled looked like a baby, a human baby. It did not pass the eye test. We did not eat monkey that night. We went to bed hungry, and we made an extra effort each day to find something we could eat. Water snakes, etc. were always going to be better than another monkey. Tough times like that, going a week without food, regular food, regular beds, can build confidence in you. And so hard times aren't always bad times. They're character building times. And I think that school built some of my character. I hope you don't have to be in a jungle full of monkeys to get that. I did. You know, another story I reflect on is my Uncle Pat. He's no longer with us, but he was a roofer, and he was a roofer of renown. He did a lot of roofs. I asked him over, I was having some leaks, and I was told that, boy, he just looks at a roof from the street and he'll know where the leaks are. He'll go up and fix them. So I called him and he came over. And I asked him, and he said, oh yeah, I could see where it's leaking as I got out of the truck. I said, good, you think you can fix it? He said, well, I need to sit here and look at your roof a little more. And he did. And I said, what are you looking for? I was fearful he was going to tell me I needed a whole new roof. No, I asked, and he said, before I go up on any roof, I look at where I can fall off of that roof and not fall and kill myself. Where are the bushes? Where is soft grass or a sandbox or something? But I try to miss anything that's hard. Where's a bicycle? And that's what he was looking for. And it occurred to me that that's one of the first things he looks for. What if I fall off the roof? And where should I try to roll to fall off? Where is it safe? I think a lot of us need to think about those things as we go through life. I find everybody has some sort of problems. Bankruptcy, divorce, a special needs child. I don't think anybody escapes life on this planet without some particular hardship, handicap coming upon them. And what we need to do is look at things and determine what we're going to do if things go bad. Sooner or later they do. I don't know if you know this, but 90% of all businesses close before the 10th year. Can you imagine that? 90%, and yet everybody's anxious to go into business for themselves. So if we go about life looking at the big picture, what could go wrong? Do I have a plan B? That's important. It'll make you a better person. You know, another hard thing when you're out hunting, particularly in the mountains, is getting out of breath, often from about 4,000 feet up. You better get in shape, walk and prepare for those kind of hunts. Just don't go out from your desk job and think you're going to do well. You won't. When we hunt, a lot of things go through our mind. Good glass, watching for movement, trying not to move any more than we have to. Today I've got a Bulldog 357. I have to tell you, this gun sure brings a wild boar down in a hurry. You can't shoot the chest. The chest is a real hard cartilage, and the bullets just go in there and kind of sink in about an inch. And that stuff can be 2 inches long. Perhaps you've seen a big slab of bacon, that hard cartilage on one end. That's where that chest is with the wild boar. So you got to go for the head, the neck, and that'll bring him down. Often as I sit quietly watching for some animal to make a movement, I reflect on some things in my life that were important things. A lot of movement in this forest. Let me share one more story with you that I reflect on in my life that made a difference, I think. Dr. Paul and I, we actually moved into a new home, and we were looking for a church. We found one down the road. It was an independent church. It didn't have one of the mainstream denomination names, but there was a lot of cars there, and I thought, well, that kind of works where I'm looking for a good restaurant, which one has a lot of vehicles outside. This church had them. And we went in and we heard a good sermon. We were greeted well at the front door. We sat near the back. Most of the seats had already been taken. And towards the end, the pastor said, well, I'd like everybody to bow their heads and close their eyes. So I did. And he said, now, without anybody looking, I'm going to ask this question. How many of you are not speaking to your Father today? And that hit me. I spoke to my Father, except for about a week one day when I ran away from home. But aside from that week, I've always spoke to my Father. And so I had to peek. After all, I was just a guest, so I started looking up. It was 20 hands go up out of about 300-400 people. Then he said, okay, keep your hands up. How many of you are not speaking to your mother? Ooh, I had to peek again. Another 10-15 hands went up. How many of you are not speaking to a brother or a sister? I have to peek again and look. And more hands went up. How many of you are not speaking to somebody at work? How many of you are not speaking to a neighbor? And by that time, just about every hand was up. I was amazed. And then he said, you can put your hands down and lift your head. He said, I just gave a sermon on how Christ can forgive us for anything and everything we've done. Not just forgive, forget anything we've ever done. And yet, almost everybody in this congregation is not speaking to somebody today. So you want something that you may not be able to give. Wow, that was profound. And we ended up joining that church, by the way. But it occurred to me, and with sermons that followed, you can't go through life like that. You can't go through life saying, I'm not speaking to Joe. I'm gonna avoid Mary. I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. And live a life you're supposed to live while you're here. So it changed my life. Maybe that story will change yours. Well, we've got some pretty good videos coming. I'm going to be in the Smoky Mountains, not Smokies, the Rocky Mountains in Colorado. After that, the Bighorn Mountains out in Wyoming. It's too early to hunt, but for big game animal there. But it's not too late to do a little prairie dog shooting and to check out the patterns that the deer are walking in and during the course of a day, and make sure we have a good blind that could be on that. Come October and November, when those seasons begin. You're going to want to subscribe, because that'll make sure you get those videos right as they're released. Secondly, you're going to want to, I hope, put your thumbs up. Maybe you learned something today. Third, leave a comment. I love answering your comments. And you know, somewhere on your screen there's a little oval picture of me. And there's nothing magical about that picture or that photo, except that if you click on it, you will immediately gain access to, well, this is our 51st video. And so here's 50 plus videos out there on a variety of topics, from accuracy, scopes, binoculars, different air guns, different calibers, trapping, you name it. Maybe you see something there that can help you. Because you see, in this life, we're all in this together. We're into this hobby together. And what we all need to be is air gun sharp.